the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. My name is Mark Lin. This is News Hour. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Ministers of India and Mauritius jointly inaugurate 6 development projects in Agalega Island. The projects to strengthen maritime security and connectivity. India points out several reds while highlighting Pakistan's abysmal human rights record, tells Turkey not to make unsolicited comments at the UNHRC. India urges those blocking various decisions at the WTO to start addressing the concerns of developing countries. India stands with the Global South at the WTO. US Supreme Court to hear arguments in April on former President Donald Trump's immunity claim from prosecution in the 2020 election case. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Mauritius Prime Minister Pravind Jugnauth jointly inaugurated the new Airstrip and St. James's Jetty at the Agalega Island in Mauritius via a video conference. Both leaders also inaugurated 6 community development projects. The projects will fulfill the demand for better connectivity between mainland Mauritius and Agalega Island and also strengthen maritime security and foster socio-economic development in the region. The inauguration of these projects is a testimony to the robust and decades-old development partnership between India and Mauritius. The event is also significant as it follows the recent launch of India's UPI and RuPay card services in Mauritius on February 12th. Praising India as a global powerhouse, the Mauritius Prime Minister Pravind Jugnauth said that India's aspiring leadership radiates across the world.
As your inspiring leadership and statesmanship radiates across the world, the people of India and the Indian diaspora have strongly established themselves as a global powerhouse of values, knowledge, and success. Today, the people of Agalega are very proud of the developments that are taking place on the island. India's support to our republic is indeed far-reaching, and not later than yesterday, again, thanks to your special consideration towards our republic, Mauritius became the first country to adopt the Jan Aushadhi scheme. This scheme will allow our country to source some 250 high-quality medicines from the Pharmaceutical and Medical Devices Bureau of India. It will ensure access to quality medicines from India for our population, especially the vulnerable. And the launching of this scheme in Mauritius will benefit our people at large and will impart further momentum to India's partnership with Mauritius.
Mauritius's Prime Minister further said that the setting up of the airstrip is a fulfillment of another Mauritian dream.
The setting up of the new airstrip and jetty facilities in Agalega is the fulfillment of yet another Mauritian dream, which many generations have lived in their hearts. This could not have been possible without the assistance of India, which has entirely financed these infrastructural projects. Shri Modi ji I wish to convey to you the profound gratitude of the government and the people of Mauritius for the special consideration you have given to our country ever since you assumed responsibility as the Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
And DD India's Akshay Dongre now joins us with more on this story. Akshay, well, the new airstrip as well as the St. James's Jetty, how much of a godsend is this?
Well, Mark, as far as these inaugurations are concerned by the Prime Minister of India and Mauritius, these are going to be game changers as far as the Indian Ocean region is concerned. Though historically India and Mauritius have been close allies, these projects are going to further boost the relationship between the people of India as well as Mauritius. As far as the infrastructure projects are concerned, including the St. James Jetty, the new airstrip in the Agalega Island, it is going to be a game changer as far as the tourism sector of Mauritius is concerned. Now, to understand the geography of Mauritius, the Agalega Island are about 1100 kilometers away from the mainland Mauritius Island, which people used to take about 2 days as far as traveling concerned via boats, and that used to be extremely tiresome as well as a very hectic exercise for the people who wish to travel from the mainland Mauritius to the Agalega Island, and that was the reason that the tourism sector in the Agalega Island was not flourishing. However, with the inauguration of this airstrip, it's going to be a massive update as far as the infrastructure capabilities of these islands are concerned. Now, there are two islands of Agalega. One is a northern island, one is a southern island. So while there was a small airstrip in the northern island, it was not large enough for cargo planes to bring in essential supplies from even the mainland Mauritius. It was just big enough for the small propeller aircraft to land on the airstrip. However, with the inauguration of this new airstrip, the Agalega Island are also expecting a massive boost in tourism activities as well as development in terms of infrastructure. And all of these projects, entirely financed by the government of India, are in fact going to be a massive update for the tourism industry, along with the infrastructure updates development for these islands that are geostrategically extremely important as far as the Indian Ocean region is concerned, given the fact that the massive amount of trade that goes through this particular region that has been seeing some difficulties in the past few months.
So, Akshay, you did mention about the development partnership now. India has had decades-old development partnership with Mauritius. How has this strengthened actually maritime security?
Well, Mark, in the past few months, we have seen the vulnerabilities of maritime trade with the resurgence of piracy in the Indian Ocean region, as well as in the Persian Gulf and other parts of the maritime region. We have seen attacks on merchant vessels. We have also seen the increased need for strengthening of maritime surveillance in the Indian Ocean region, through which about 60% of oil passes. Not just to India but to other countries of Southeast Asia, and countries as far as Australia require these routes for trade purposes. And with the resurgence of these threats to the maritime trade, the development of the jetty as well as airstrip in the Agalega Island is going to be a massive boost for the surveillance of these waters as well. And while there has been a propaganda of sorts that was being peddled by some elements as far as the nature of these airstrips are concerned, the Mauritius Prime Minister has also made it clear that the islands will be controlled by the government of Mauritius, and it is not a military base, but it is an infrastructure and development project that is for the good of the people of Mauritius as well as India, and is going to increase the trade activities as well as the connectivity of these islands to the mainland Mauritius and the rest of the world.
Now, Akshay, also UPI and RuPay cards became available in Mauritius this month. So how does this help in the socio-economic development of the region?
Mauritius has been a tourist hub for past several decades. It has been developing at a rapid pace, and what the people of Mauritius have been seeing as well is the huge influx of Indian tourists going to Mauritius for the serene islands and the beaches along with lagoons that Mauritius has to offer. And as Indians increase in the number of tourists who would travel to Mauritius every year, the introduction of UPI along with the RuPay cards is going to be beneficial for both the people of of India who wish to travel to Mauritius, as well as the trade and small businesses of Mauritius who in fact interact with these Indian tourists that visit every year, along with providing a more advanced way of payment system to the archipelago, as well as better and more secure digital payment networks that will be built by the introduction of the UPI along with the RuPay card introduction. So there will be a massive boost to the tourist activities, especially the Indian tourists who rather visits every year in large numbers. That is going to be a big boost for the small businesses of Mauritius, Mark.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Akshay Dongre, for talking to us about India-Mauritius relationship. Meanwhile, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that India has always been a first responder for Mauritius.
डेवलपमेंट पार्टनरशिप हमारे राजनीतिक संबंधों का अहम स्तंभ रहा है। हमारी विकास भागीदारी मॉरिशस की प्राथमिकताओं पर आधारित है। भारत ने हमेशा मॉरिशस की जरूरतों का सम्मान किया है। संकट कोविड महामारी का हो या तेल रिसाव का, भारत हमेशा अपने मित्र मॉरिशस के लिए फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर रहा है।
In a befitting reply to Pakistan, India stated that Pakistan has institutionalized the systemic persecution of its own minorities. India said Pakistan has truly an abysmal human rights record. And also commenting on India, which is demonstrably making great strides in achieving economic progress and social justice, is not merely ironical, but it's also perverse. That is what India said about Pakistan. Exercising the right to reply at the high-level segment of the 55th regular session of the UN Human Rights Council on Wednesday, the First Secretary, Anupama Singh, slammed Pakistan over terrorism. She said that Pakistan has no right to comment on India as its own hands are soaked in the red of the bloodshed from terrorism.
With regard to the extensive references to India made by Pakistan, we note that it is deeply unfortunate for the Council's platform to have once again been misused to make patently false allegations against India. We will make only 3 points. 1. The entire union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh are an integral and inalienable part of India. Pakistan has no locus standi to pronounce on matters that are internal to India. 2. A country that has institutionalized the systemic persecution of its own minorities and has a truly abysmal human rights record, commenting on India, which is demonstrably making great strides in achieving economic progress and social justice, is not merely ironical but perverse. 3. A country that hosts and even celebrates UNHRC-sanctioned terrorists, commenting on India, whose pluralistic ethos and democratic credentials are exemplars for the world, is a contrast for everyone to see. We cannot pay any further attention to a country that speaks while being soaked in red. The red of the bloodshed from the terrorism it sponsors around the world, the red of its debt-riddled national balance sheets, and the red of the shame its own people feel for their government having failed to serve their actual interests.
And slamming Turkey as well, Anupama Singh said that the country should refrain from making unsolicited comments on internal matters of India.
India is exercising its right of reply in response to references to India during the high-level segment. Firstly, we regret the comment made by Turkey on a matter that is an internal affair of India and hope that it would refrain from making unsolicited comments on our internal matters in future.
Now, the U.S. Supreme Court on Wednesday agreed to decide Donald Trump's claim of immunity from prosecution for trying to overturn the 2020 election loss. Now, this has given him a boost as he tries to delay criminal prosecutions while running to regain the presidency. The justices put on hold the criminal case being pursued by the special counsel Jack Smith. They will also review a lower court's rejection of Trump's claim of immunity for prosecution because he was president when he took actions. The Supreme Court set the case for oral argument during the week of April 22 on a single question. And this question is important. It is this: whether, and if so, to what extent does a former president enjoy presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for conduct alleged to involve official acts during his tenure in office? Now, Trump, the first former president to be criminally prosecuted, is the frontrunner for the Republican nomination to challenge Joe Biden, a Democrat, on the November 5th U.S. election. Now, Trump, in a post also on his social media platform, hailed the Supreme Court's decision to hear his immunity claim. In a surprise move, a Cook County judge on Wednesday ordered the state election board to remove the former President Donald Trump from Illinois' March 19 primary ballot because of his role in the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on the 6th of January 2021. The decision is delayed. This is because the decision is delayed from taking effect because it's expected that Donald Trump is going to appeal in a higher court. Now, still to come on DD India News Hour. No progress in truce talks in Qatar. Israel has continued its reprisal against Hamas targets. Russia claims to have taken control of the Petrovskoye area, which is near Avdiivka. And cannabis for recreation is going to be banned again in Thailand. It was allowed in 2022.
The curious case of Julian Assange. The future of lunar exploration. And the biggest snake discovered in the Amazon rainforests. Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. In the latest from the Israel-Hamas conflict, the IDF troops have eliminated terrorists and destroyed tunnel shafts, located weapons and also 5 rocket launching pits. The soldiers identified a terrorist cell in central Gaza. They approached the ground troops and directed an aircraft to eliminate the cell. In Khan Yunis, the ground forces coordinated airstrikes to precisely eliminate terrorists. And this is, as Israel says, there is no limit on humanitarian aid sent into Gaza. The Israeli government spokesperson Tal Henrik has said that over 50 trucks carrying humanitarian aid were transferred to the northern Gaza over the past few days.
Yesterday, an airdrop operation successfully delivered 160 packages of food and medical supplies to southern Gaza and to the Jordanian Field Hospital in Khan Yunis. This collaborative effort involved Israel, the UAE, Jordan, Egypt, France, and the United States. We say again, there is no limit to the amount of humanitarian aid for the civilians in Gaza. After nearly 5 months of war against Hamas, we know that once humanitarian aid does get in, the terror organization Hamas takes over. Looting is also a problem. But we are working with the Biden administration to find ways to improve the humanitarian assistance delivery.
The Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant on Wednesday said that Hamas's aim was to take pressure off its fighters in Gaza by forcing Israel to shift security resources to Jerusalem and the West Bank. Gallant statement came after Hamas called on Palestinians to march to Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque at the start of Ramadan. Al-Aqsa is Jerusalem's old city, one of the world's holiest sites for Muslims and also for Jews. And it has long been a flashpoint for potential violence, particularly during the religious holidays. Israel has said it may set limits to worship at Al-Aqsa during Ramadan, according to its security needs. Many Palestinians are rejecting such restrictions on their access to the site. Meanwhile, there is no breakthrough yet in the peace talks in Qatar.
Hamas' top goal at this time is to cause a flare-up in Temple Mount, so that we are forced to take some of the pressure off and move resources and forces to the West Bank and Jerusalem. We must not give them that. On the one hand, we are operating against terrorist elements, and on the other hand, it is our obligation to allow freedom of worship. And I think we will reach the right arrangements that will allow that.
Meanwhile, tensions have escalated along the Israel-Lebanon border. The Israeli military on Wednesday released a video showing targets the Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon that were struck. The strikes on these targets in Yarin and Bint Jabal, these are both towns close to Israeli border, and they came after Hezbollah's ally Hamas said that they had launched 2 missile salvos from southern Lebanon into northern Israel. News now from the other conflict, the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And Russia on Wednesday claimed that its forces had taken control of a strategic village in the Ukrainian Avdiivka direction, while Ukraine has claimed that it has launched attacks on Russian air defense systems. The Russian Defense Ministry said that the forces have taken control over the village of Petrovskoye, which is in the direction of Avdiivka, occupying a more favorable position. The Russian army repelled multiple rounds of attacks of the Ukrainian army and launched offensives in Kupiansk and other directions, destroying various equipment such as tanks, armored vehicles, and self-propelled artillery of the Ukrainian army. This is according to Russian sources. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tried to build further support for Kiev among southeastern European countries as he co-hosted a two-day summit with the Albanian government. He puts forth his vision of peace in Ukraine and of a joint arms production. And Zelensky also proposed organizing a Ukraine-Balkans defense forum in Kiev, or a Balkan capital, to nurture arms cooperation just like it conducted with the UK and the US weapons companies last year. The summit in the Albanian capital Tirana, it comes as Kiev is trying to improve its defensive capabilities to fight Russian forces at a time of faltering US support.
Ukraine emphasizes that all of us in Europe must be ready to defend our sovereignty, national dignity, and our people's way of life. Everyone is under threat. This kind of Russia has a significant toolkit for destabilization.
Instrumentari. This is not an existential threat just for Ukraine. This is a threat for whatever we think our future should be. This is not rhetoric. If we want a future in the European Union, we want the European Union. We don't want to see the European Union dissolved after entering in a never-ending corrosive infight.
Voters are going to the polls on Thursday in another by-election for a parliamentary seat in England. This one was called after the previous lawmaker who represented the opposition Labour Party died of leukemia in January. It looks set to be another major defeat for the governing Conservative Party. But unlike previous recent by-elections, that won't mean a Labour win, as the party felt compelled to rescind their endorsement of their candidate following a last-minute scandal. Stuart Smith reports from London.
This bi-poll, or by-election as it's known in the UK, is the third in 2 weeks. It's happening in Rochdale, part of northern England's largest city, Manchester. While the result won't change much for the governing Conservative Party, their candidate is highly unlikely to do well. However, the opposition Labour Party's initial choice, Azhar Ali, lost the party's backing after making anti-Semitic comments blaming Jewish media executives for critical coverage of pro-Palestine lawmakers. Before that, he was caught on tape claiming Israel deliberately weakened security before the October 7th massacre to give them a green light to attack Hamas in Gaza, a comment he later apologised for. Those controversies forced Labour to drop him, but too late for a replacement candidate to be nominated instead due to electoral rules. It now means the frontrunner in the by-election is not from any of the major parties. Azhar Ali is still predicted to win significant support, but is no longer representing the Labour Party. And the new frontrunner is an ex-Labour lawmaker called George Galloway, who became a thorn in the Labour Party's side for decades for taking stances consistently more extreme than party policy and making a name for himself as a controversial outsider. But he's maintained a strong pro-Palestinian stance, and in a constituency with a strong Muslim presence, he could clinch the seat to return to Parliament as an MP for the first time since 2015. Stuart Smith in London, reporting for DD India.
Let's take a look at other stories now making news around the world. 5 suspects accused of involvement in the assassination of the Ecuadorian presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio are set to go on trial. Villavicencio was gunned down in Quito last August while leaving a campaign event. A 6th suspect will be released according to a judge's ruling. A World War II-era bomb was successfully detonated in Belgium on Wednesday. The Belgian military, their bomb disposal squad unit, blew up this explosive, which was found on an empty beach. The police said that the bomb came from an aircraft and it had weighed over 100 kilograms. Thailand's health ministry said that it will ban recreational use of marijuana by the end of this year. It will continue to allow its use for medical purposes. Thailand became the first country in Southeast Asia to free up medicinal use of cannabis in 2018. It began recreational use in 2022. The New York Botanical Garden is holding its annual orchid show featuring flower-themed fashions created by 3 contemporary designers. The Orchid Show, Florals in Fashion exhibition. It includes an orchid runway for visitors. The event runs through to the 21st of April. The United States has threatened to reimpose oil sanctions on Venezuela, raising fears among local business owners. The growth forecast for 2024 has dropped, reflecting the impact of sanctions on Venezuelan economy. Here's DD India's Latin American correspondent Mary Trini Mina with the details.
Importing spare parts for his mechanic workshop has been difficult for Miguel Contreras, who has been struggling to find suppliers abroad. The Venezuelan entrepreneur opened his business 10 years ago, a decade in which the country experienced sustained economic decline, inflation, devaluation, government controls, and more recently, U.S. sanctions. The prolonged economic crisis hit Venezuelans' purchasing power. The return of sanctions could worsen a situation already in free fall.
If a person's vehicle is damaged and they don't have the purchasing power to repair it again, that hurts me a lot.
Even though sanctions are meant to exclusively target the gas and oil industry, they have impacted other sectors, often because of the challenges of doing business with a Venezuelan company.
The private non-oil economy has been affected by sanctions, mostly due to over-compliance in the financial sector. Banks have to walk like they're in a minefield.
Oil and gas sanctions against Venezuela were imposed in 2019, but then eased in 2023 by the Biden administration as a result of a political agreement to reach free and fair elections. According to the White House, Venezuela has violated the agreement by banning presidential opposition candidates from running for office and will reimpose those sanctions if bans are not lifted by April.
Economic experts had predicted nearly 10% growth in the Venezuelan economy for 2024. But if sanctions return, growth could be reduced to less than half.
Instability and fear have already driven foreign investment away from the country. Supermarket owner Rodolfo Tavares says managing a business in Venezuela is tough amid uncertainty.
It's not so easy to stay active in a market that has so many ups and downs, so many difficulties from an economic and social point of view.
Reinstating sanctions would hit the country's main source of revenue, the oil industry. The only American oil company still working in Venezuela, Chevron, would also not increase production, as it had been authorized to do last year.
There have been 100,000 more barrels produced this year compared to last year. Those are in fact 100,000 that Chevron has contributed, and it's very important to maintain them because we need to think not just about this year, but the years to come.
While forecasts seems to be discouraging, business owners in Venezuela carry on. They can't control actions on the political area, but they are doing what they can to push the local economy to move forward. Maritrini Mena in Caracas, reporting for DD India.
And still to come here on DD India News Hour. India's leopard population is more than 13,000 and seen to be stable. South Korean doctors on strike without remorse.
The curious case of Julian Assange. The future of lunar exploration. And the biggest snake discovered in the Amazon rainforests. Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn, and here's a recap of our main stories. Prime Ministers of India and Mauritius jointly inaugurate 6 development projects in Agalega Island, and these projects are going to strengthen maritime security and connectivity. India urges those blocking various decisions at the WTO to start addressing the concerns of developing countries. India stands with the Global South at the WTO. The US Supreme Court to hear arguments in April on former President Donald Trump's immunity claim from prosecution in a 2020 election case. The 13th WTO Ministerial Conference in Abu Dhabi saw India strongly advocating to address the concerns of developing countries. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal led the team of India at the WTO, and he asserted that India plays a crucial role as a consensus builder in the World Trade Organization.
The 13th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization is taking place in Abu Dhabi. India has asserted that it plays a crucial role as a consensus builder in the WTO. It has raised concerns that several countries were disrupting this consensus.
पहली बात तो ये है कि विश्व ने देखना पड़ेगा कि कौन मुद्दों पे ब्लॉक कर रहा है और कौन जिम्मेदार है कि WTO का कामकाज स्मूथली आगे क्यों नहीं बढ़ रहा है। इससे ये साबित होता है कि भारत तो वास्तव में कंसेंसस बिल्डर है। हम सहमति बनाने में अहम भूमिका निभा रहे हैं और कई देश अलग-अलग विषयों पे सहमति को तोड़ रहे हैं।
Furthermore, India strongly advocated for addressing the concerns of the developing countries and called for swift attention to issues such as permanent solution to public stock holding.
India stands on strong principles of fair play, justice, and wants to ensure that all decisions taken at the WTO are keeping in mind the best interests of India's farmers, India's fisher folk, and ensures that our work towards meeting the sustainable development goals, strong and speedy growth in our Amrit Kal.
Meanwhile, India along with South Africa successfully blocked a key proposal led by China at the World Trade Organization. The proposal, known as the Investment Facilitation Development Agreement, is unlikely to be included in the final outcome document of the ongoing ministerial conference.
Investment is not a part of the WTO mandate, and therefore South Africa and India, along with other countries, have opposed inclusion of IFD. And today in writing we have given to the Secretariat of WTO that this issue cannot be brought into the agenda.
WTO is the only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations. All major decisions are made by the members as a whole, either by ministers or by the ambassadors or delegates. In the WTO, power is not delegated to a board of directors or the organization's head. When WTO rules impose disciplines on the policies of a country, it is the outcome of negotiations among WTO members. The countries make their decisions through various councils and committees whose memberships consists of all WTO members.
And Prasar Bharati correspondent Vinod Kumar now joins us from the UAE with an update on this. Vinod, India has blocked the IFD negotiations at the WTO. Why do you think this is important from India's point of view?
See, this is the point to be noted here is the investment facilitation agreement has to be added to the Annex 4 of the Marrakesh Agreement. This faces three legal hurdles. First, let me explain what are these legal hurdles. Then let's come to the point that why India has been objecting to this. According to the Marrakesh Agreement, Article 10 Clause 9, the deal in WTO can be only made for trade and not for investment. And this agreement lacks substantiative provisions related to trade despite acknowledging the relationship between investment and trade. We know the relationship that is there between investment and trade, but Article 10 Clause 9 does not make it very clear whether investment can be part of the trade. Second thing is the most important thing, eligibility to request addition. Only if a plurilateral agreement that has been made between these parties to this agreement is in force and it is ratified and domestic procedures have been taken care in their countries, then only this particular IFD can be taken into a multilateral forum like WTO and consensus can be made. So even this has not been enforced. No countries, these 123 countries, has not ratified and not made domestic procedures inside their countries. So there is no point of these countries can request WTO for addition. Third, the negotiations of the IFD began with no multilateral mandate. So without a multilateral mandate, it is not logical for these countries to add IFD to the umbrella organization of WTO. These are the three legal hurdles. And why India is blocking? There has been past precedences that this in the name of investment, small countries, small economies are burdened with debt. We can see the case where the Belt and Road Initiative of China has burdened many African countries, including our neighbor country like Sri Lanka, with the burden of debt. So, having taken into all these parameters, India, along with South Africa and other developing countries, have blocked inclusion in the WTO forum. These are the reasons.
Yes, so clearly India is standing with the global south there. But what are the key items on the agenda today for discussion and what's important for India?
As we speak now, the draft ministerial declaration is being discussed. And in the morning, we had a discussion on working program on e-commerce. This is another important topic that was discussed today. To explain more, we need to go back to a bit history. In the second ministerial conference in 1998, there was a confusion what constitutes digital work. At those times, there were compact CDs and DVDs, and there were emails, and there was no proper definition of what constitutes e-commerce. So there was a moratorium imposed at MC2 in 1998 that there will be free trade between countries within the WTO without any customs duties or tariffs. This moratorium has been extended every 2 years. But as we speak in 2024, now we have a clear picture of what is e-commerce, what is digital transactions, what is the digital economy, how countries can be benefiting from the digital economy. So India is of the view that it has time to stop this moratorium, and this moratorium is set to expire on March 31st. So India has made this point very clear that we are not going to extend this moratorium for two reasons. One, there is a potential revenue loss of $500 million that India might be losing because of this moratorium. Second, Mark, we know that this is the era of artificial intelligence, 3D printing, data analytics, forensics. All this happens in the digital domain. So we need a clear policy space for implementation and regulation of these digital entities. So if we give this moratorium extended to WTO on an unlimited basis, we won't be having this policy space. And India is known for creating its digital infrastructure. We have a digital public infrastructure initiative whereby we have created Aadhaar, we have created UPI. So we need this policy framework and policy space. So India has clearly told to the WTO 13th Ministerial Conference, this moratorium, we would not like to extend it. That is the main point of takeaway from today. Right. And the draft declaration, we can expect it to be out in the evening, UAE time.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Vinod Kumar, special correspondent Prasar Bharati, based in the UAE in Abu Dhabi currently. Thanks for being with us. Moving on then, Microsoft co-founder and co-chairman of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, met India's health minister, Dr. Mansukh Mandavia. This happened in the national capital, Delhi, on Wednesday. And Gates, who is on an India visit, praised India's endeavors in developing the health sector. They discussed a wide range of subjects related to healthcare, and these include the promotion of digital health, the affordable diagnostic schemes, and others. Gates also observed and he appreciated India's Bisham Cube initiative, which is an indigenous mobile hospital.
Two of our priorities, in addition, are malnutrition and anemia. And I know those are huge priorities for India. In the case of anemia, we have an infusion, and I was talking with people like Dr. Reddy about making that very low cost. So perhaps a one-time infusion for pregnant mothers could be extremely beneficial. And we're doing a lot of trials, including here in India, to actually confirm that and show that, particularly if we can get the cost down and make that infusion even easier, that will be a great intervention that we'd love to scale up in India and into the entire world.
India's Health Minister, Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, lauded India's efforts to help ally countries during any disaster in the world.
हम चाहते हैं कि दुनिया स्वस्थ रहे। हम चाहते हैं कि दुनिया में कहाँ भी युद्ध ना हो। हम चाहते हैं दुनिया में कोई भी जगह पे ह्यूमन क्राइसिस ना हो, लेकिन क्राइसिस की स्थिति हो तब हमारा भीष्म क्यूब सभी को।
And India's Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupinder Yadav, released the report on the status of leopards in India. The fifth cycle of the leopard population estimation, it was carried out with a motive of monitoring the habitat of leopards in India, and India's leopard population is now estimated to be more than 13,000. That represents 2018. The state of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, in fact these states, and Karnataka, they house the largest population of leopards in the country. In South Korea, the doctors who are on strike, they seem adamant despite threats of legal action against them. They are protesting against the government's way of dealing with a shortage of doctors in that country. The government had asked them to return to work by February 29, that's Thursday, and in fact, else they're going to face legal action, including a suspension of their licenses. But on Wednesday, military and community doctors were assigned to medical hospitals, but this is going to commence from March 1 under an emergency healthcare program. Two-thirds of the nation's residents and intern doctors, they have walked out of their jobs. They are protesting against a government plan to increase the number of students who are admitted to medical school. The government believes that this is the best way to address a shortage of doctors. Now, the protest led to a disruption in services at large hospitals, forcing some patients to cancel surgeries and procedures. The Philippines President, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., has asserted that Manila is firm in defending its sovereignty in the South China Sea against an assertive China. On an official visit to Australia, Marcos told the Australian Parliament on Thursday that he would not allow any foreign power to take 1 square inch of the country's territory. Australia and the Philippines began their first joint sea and air patrols of the South China Sea in November, aimed at countering the increasingly assertiveness of China. And China, we know, claims the entire sea as its own. The South China Sea is a major source of tension between the Philippines and China. Every year, the world observes Rare Disease Day in the last week of February, highlighting the importance of research and advocacy. While new diseases are still being discovered, the National Institutes of Health have identified rare diseases. There are 7,000 of them and more. Jessica Taneja spoke to Sweden's ambassador to India. Take a listen.
Today, there are the two things together. Sweden and India are working very closely when it comes to climate and environmental issues. At COP28, the environmental summit in Dubai, the climate summit, the Honorable Prime Minister of India and the Prime Minister of Sweden together launched Lead It, which is the leadership group for Industry Transition 2.0. And this is a very big initiative, international initiative, engaging international companies, countries around the world. Just in a couple of days' time, we launched the Sustainability by Sweden. Will be launched here in the presence of our State Secretary here in Delhi. And that's also together with companies, together with the Swedish Embassy, together with the Consulate General in Mumbai, together with Business Sweden, of course, together with the Chamber of Commerce. And I feel that there is a fantastic opportunity that we are grasping now to work with companies and to show that the private sector can do so much, leading by example and leading by action.
Still to come here on DD India News Hour. In a big blow, the Board of Control for Cricket in India has dropped the names of Ishan Kishan and Shreyas Iyer from the central contracts list. Well, it's a leap year, so happy 29th of February to everyone.
The curious case of Julian Assange. The future of lunar exploration. And the biggest snake discovered in the Amazon rainforests. Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
KL Rahul played the first test. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Now, there's another deadline looming for the Congress, that's the US Congress, to agree on government spending before the weekend. The congressional leaders, they've reached a last-minute deal to avoid a disruption. And let's take a look at what they have done.
If an agreement isn't made by March 1st, there will be a partial shutdown of the government, with implications for some public services and federal employees. At the end of last year, Congress agreed on short-term spending bills, with 4 of them due to expire at the end of Friday. That's impacting the Departments of Development, Agriculture, Energy, Veterans, Transportation and Housing. And another 8 spending agreements are due to expire at the end of March 8th. Well, Republicans want more consideration for conservative policies, including those on abortion and border issues. They also want to get rid of some of the Biden administration's policies, such as on climate change. The lack of agreement, though, in Congress is also impacting spending for Ukraine, Israel and the Indo-Pacific. The Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said this week that it's the fault of the House Republicans, who he says need more time to sort themselves out. House Speaker Mike Johnson has said, though, that there are new requests being considered from the Democrats, and that's getting in the way. But if talks fall apart, there could still be a shutdown. At this stage, it would not affect the budgets for Social Security and Medicare, which is the federal health coverage. But it could affect up to 100,000 federal workers, many of whom work and live around the capital. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
US dollar tracked towards monthly gains on Thursday. This comes ahead of highly anticipated inflation data that could ruffle the interest rate outlook. While the sliding yen found a footing after a policymaker hinted at the need to exit ultra-easy policies, the yen strengthened 0.60% to 150 per dollar on Thursday. India's equity benchmark indices climbed in early trade on Thursday, but they later faced volatile trends amid sluggish global cues. The Sensex climbed 93 points to 72,000 in early trade, and the Nifty went up by 12 points to 22,000 range, while the Indian rupee appreciated 2 paise to 82.89 against the US dollar in early trade. And time now for all the sports updates, and with me is Deepika Mehta. So Deepika, what's the biggest news?
Thanks and good afternoon, Mark. Well, the biggest news are coming in from the world of cricket. It is on the central contract as well on the latest update on KL Rahul. So first up, let's give our viewers the big news from the world of cricket. The Indian Cricket Board, the BCCI, on Wednesday dropped Indian middle-order batter Shreyas Iyer and wicketkeeper Ishan Kishan from its annual central contract list 2023-24. The national body removed Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan from the central contract list despite both of them featuring in India's ODI World Cup campaign last year. The duo were excluded after ignoring the directive from the BCCI to play the Ranji Trophy. There were many speculations about the duo being dropped. So Ishan Kishan took a break midway into India's tour of South Africa, after which he was not picked for the T20 International Series against Afghanistan and the Test Series against England as well. Shreyas Iyer recently excused himself from a Ranji Trophy game in Mumbai due to his back issue. Meanwhile, among the other players, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Jasprit Bumrah and Ravindra Jadeja figured in the A+ category. On the concluding day of the 4th edition of Khelo India University Games Ashti-Lakshmi, Chandigarh University continued to lead the medals tally with 25 gold medals, 16 silver and 16 bronze medals. On the other hand, Lovely Professional University sit at the second position, while Guru Nanak Dev University moved up to the third spot. In track and fields event, athletes from the other universities stole the show. Middle distance runner Amandeep Kaur of Punjab University and javelin thrower Jyoti Chaudhary of Devilal University set new games records at the 4th edition of Khelo India University Games in women's 800-meter event. Amandeep was 5 seconds faster than her nearest competitor to clinch the gold medal with a new games record. The earlier mark was held by Harmilan Kaur, who had clocked a time of 2 minutes, 6 seconds and 40 frames in the first edition of Khelo India University Games. Jyoti Chaudhary threw 53.16 meters in her fourth attempt to clinch women's javelin throw gold. And now to discuss more on this, I'm joined by Rituraj Dekar, who's joining us from Guwahati. Rituraj, first of all, when we talk about the medals tally, who is leading the tally right now? Rituraj.
Yes, Deepika. Right now, I am at Khorokhoja Stadium in Guwahati. And finally, we come to the final day of the Khelo India University Games 2023 Astalakshmi in Guwahati. And these games will definitely inspire many of the sports talent from entire Northeast, not from the entire Northeast, but from the country to bring glory for the country. And as per the latest information I have with me, Chandigarh University is leading the tally with the 28 gold medals. And after that, in second position, Lovely Professional University from Punjab. Then in the third position, Jain University from the sports persons from several universities are vying for 130 medals today also, for 31 medals, including 31 gold medals, 31 silver medal and 51 bronze medal. Deepika.
All right, thank you so much, Rituraj, for joining us and bringing us the latest on the medals tally from Khelo India University Games concluding day. So that was a quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to Mark.
Thanks a lot, Deepika. And this year, there is a date on your calendar, which is the 29th of February. That happens every 4 years, meaning that 2024 is a leap year. Let's explore the reasons behind this special date.
Every 4 years, our calendars undergo a remarkable adjustment, adding an extra day to the month of February. But why? What prompts this temporal anomaly? At the heart of the matter lies the intricate dance between our planets and the Sun. You see, Earth's orbit is not perfectly aligned with the passage of time. It takes approximately 365.25 days for Earth to complete its journey around the Sun, not the neat 365 days we have come to expect. Long ago, the ancient civilizations grappled with this discrepancy, devising various methods to reconcile the solar year with the lunar and seasonal cycles. The Georgian calendar reforms of 1582 introduced the concept of the leap year, stipulating that years divisible by 4 would have an extra day added, that is, February the 29th. To check if a year is a leap year, one can divide the year by 4. If it is fully divisible by 4, it is a leap year. For example, the year 2012 is fully divisible by 4, hence it is a leap year. However, century years like 1900 or 2000 need to be divided by 400 to check whether they are leap years or not.
The year is divisible by 4, then it will have a leap year. But if it is divisible by 100, then it will not be a leap year. So the year 2000 was not a leap year. But since then, every 4 years we've had a leap year, and this year is 2024. Next time, a year divisible by 4, but not a leap year, will be the year of the century, which would be 2100.
This ingenious adjustment ensured that our calendars remain synchronized with the Earth's orbit, preserving the sanctity of timekeeping for generations to come.
Today, leap year serves not only as a practical adjustment to our calendars, but also as a source of fascination and curiosity. So, as we mark this quadrennial event, let us marvel at the marvels of timekeeping and celebrate the beauty of a world's integrated dance through the cosmos. With camera person Shubham, this is Prasar Bharati for DD India.
And with that lesson in logic, let's end this bulletin. That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on Facebook, X, which was formerly Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar. With me is Deepika.